Welcome to Guns, Gear, and Guns with Gary Gunderson. I am Gary Gunderson. Today I have a Yugoslavian M57 chambered in 7.62 by 25 Tokarev, and is Yugoslavia's own variant of the Soviet TT-33 Tokarev, one of many variants produced natively by communist countries based on the Soviet design. Development of these began in 1957, hence the M57 designation, with some 100 trials pistols or so produced in 1961 before entering full production in 1963. This design has several distinct differences compared to other Tokarev designs, many of which I think are real improvements. Taking a look at these side by side, the M57 and a Russian TT-33, they obviously look very similar. However, one thing is immediately apparent if you take a closer look, and that is the grip length of the M57. The M57 has a 9-round magazine compared to the normal 8-round of other Tokarev designs. This means if you pick up a Yugo M57, be sure to get some magazines specifically for this variant, as standard magazines are too short and will not lock up or feed. Military issue magazines also tend to have a lanyard loop at the bottom. Not all of them do, but most of them do if you're looking for a military example. However, since they are both single stack and have the same design, you can insert a Yugo magazine into other Tokarev variants and it will lock up in place. That is the most obvious difference when looking at these side by side, but that is not the only one. Several smaller changes are also present. Apart from the first year of production, most M57s have a magazine disconnect safety, meaning that you cannot pull the trigger if no magazine is inserted, while other Tokarevs do not have that feature. M57s will also feature a half-cock notch on the hammer as well. Another difference you will notice when disassembling your Tokarev is that the Yugo recoil spring is captured with an articulating guide rod, which does make the process a lot easier when disassembling and reassembling it, as the spring can kind of pop out on you without this feature. TT-33 firing pins have a notch milled into them due to the retaining method, while M57s are retained in a different manner, eliminating the need for this notch, meaning they're going to be less prone to breakage, though this does complicate a full breakdown of the pistol and manufacturing as well. The top strap has serrations near the front of the pistol and front of the ejection port to reduce glare when aiming down the sights, while TT-33s do not have this feature. And speaking of front sights, on the M57s they are removable, while you guessed it, on the TT-33 they are not. In addition, the magazine release buttons on M57s are concave with concentric circles, which does help in finding it and pushing it in a pinch, while TT-33s are smooth and convex, just a rounded little circle to press in. And finally, the serrations on the M57 are angled, while on a TT-33 they are perpendicular. Those are all the main differences in the two designs, so now let's take a closer look at the markings, as Yugo Tokarevs, at least up to a certain point, are covered in them. They have what is widely believed to be parts numbers to help with assembly at the factory stamped all over, at least until around 1973. They will also have T stamps as powder proofs and a BK for military control or acceptance. The BKs can be stamped or electropenciled. In addition, you have the Yugoslavian crest, stamped nicely on the top of the slide, which goes through several variations depending on the year. A flame surrounded by stalks of wheat and a banner at the bottom celebrating the founding of the country, 29 XI for November 1943. You can quickly determine if your pistol was made pre-68 by looking at the crest. If there are 5 torches beneath the flames, it was made between 63 and 68, while sometime in 68, a 6th torch was added to all future crests. Of course, if you want a better determination of production date for your pistol, just look at the serial number. Other than the first trial pistols serialized as 1 to 100, they handily have letter prefixes that mostly let you determine production date. Starting with A in 1963, it continues with B in 64, C in 65, which is this example's year of manufacture, maintaining this pattern until it skips letter L, going from K series in 1973 to M in 1974, and then it goes to the N prefix as you would assume in 1975, but keeps the N prefix through 1980 before going to O in 1981 and concluding with P in 1982. I have not seen any reasoning behind why it gets stuck on the N prefix for a bit, but it certainly wasn't low production numbers because all the estimates I have seen show that all these N years actually had higher numbers than the previous few and subsequent years. I do have some estimates of production numbers for the N years on the screen to help, though these should be taken as estimates and not definitive. Also, keep in mind that there are commercial M57s with the same C prefix as those manufactured in 1965. You can easily differentiate these from military pistols because the serial number is located just above the grip instead of near the muzzle end of the pistol. They also have their own grips that do not have a star, but instead have a ZCZ symbol. And they also have their own proof marks that appear to be antlers inside of an oval. Going to the grips, they have their own markings, as well as obviously being longer than a standard Tokarev grip, so you can't just swap these out between variants willy-nilly. Early examples have FNRJ for Federal People's Republic of Yugoslavia. These grips were changed in 1968 to SFRJ, standing for Socialist Federated Republic of Yugoslavia. Even though this pistol was made before 1968, it has the later grips, which is common. The early grips are apparently exceedingly rare. I am not certain if these were purposefully replaced or if there's some other reason for their rarity, but everything else matches on this example, and it's my understanding most Yugo M57s have the later grips regardless of production date. Disassembly here is the same as other Tokarevs. Be sure to lock the slide back, remove the magazine, pull or push over this retaining pin, and this is the other end of your slide stop. So hold your slide back and pull out. Be careful about this slide stop because it will scratch in a circular fashion, kind of like a compass. Then you let the slide forward off the frame, and you can see how the spring is still retained with this guide rod. Push in, release some pressure, and you can see the articulating arm lets you pull it out of there without any issue. Then rotate the bushing 180 degrees, and then your barrel can go out the front once you fold down this eyelet. And then, of course, there's also the trigger assembly that can be pulled out of the frame, and that's your normal field strip. Reassembly is obviously in reverse. Slide your barrel back in. Put your bushing on. And be sure when you do assemble it that this eyelet is down so that the slide stop can go through it and assemble correctly. Be sure to match this angle so that it goes down onto the barrel. Put the slide back on, pull it back into place, then re-engage that. There you go. The grips for these Tokarevs are also removed the same way as the others, there's a little tab that you can move over with a screwdriver, which lets it fall out, which you can see here. How rotating it makes it go across the panel. And that reveals the other one, which you also simply scoot over and pops it right out. And here you can see this notch cut into the trigger bar, which is the magazine disconnect safety. As you can see, the magazine pushes this safety out of the way so that you can fire the pistol. So in reality, if you do replace your trigger with a different country's or a standard one without this notch, this safety will always be pushed out and it will eliminate the magazine safety altogether. So keep this in mind if you purchase one of the new imports with the Glock style trigger safety, and if you replace it and want the magazine safety, be sure it has this notch cut into it, because other standard Tokarevs just have a straight line here at the top instead of this little cutout. Because then you can eliminate the magazine safety altogether if you want to, so that it's always pushed out and out of the way. If you're looking for further accessories for your M57, there are a lot of holster variations. Do keep in mind, of course, that it needs to be specifically for a Yugo Tokarev to fit properly due to the longer grip length. I do not have one of these at the moment, though here is a standard Tokarev reproduction, so you get a sense of what it looks like. The Yugo Tokarevs also have a special cleaning rod, which has a folding T-bar instead of the loop here, like this Russian one. That's really all I have about the Yugo M57 Tokarevs today. I personally like a lot of the features they added, and I think it is a pleasant shooter, like other Tokarevs. There have been recent imports in the last few weeks at several websites at time of filming, which I cannot link to, but if you search around sites like Atlantic or Red Star Surplus and others, you may be able to still find them on the secondary market. They're all being imported at the moment with a Glock style trigger safety, which means you can simply purchase a standard trigger and install it yourself to bring it back to its rightful configuration. Thankfully, there's a video about switching out the trigger on Tokarevs on this channel already, which you will see a link to here. Unfortunately, this example was an earlier import and will forever be marked with this ugly thing. Let me know if you have one of these or purchased out of this recent batch of surplus and how they are looking to you, or maybe what year it was manufactured. I am kind of curious. I've had this one for several years now, and though someone had whitened the markings, it was covered in cosmoline when I received it, so obviously it hadn't really been shot much since it came stateside. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Share the video around as it helps the channel grow, and be sure to comment below if you have ideas for future videos or other content you want to see. Thanks for watching.